Do you think Ukraine is moving in the right direction in terms of reforms?
Oh, definitely, and it's a rare occurrence these days among, if you compare Ukraine to other countries, not only emerging market but also some developed countries. So there have been huge progress in some areas, like in the gas sector, in the monetary and banking system, in fiscal decentralization. The business environment has been improved, and also there were a lot of measures done to reduce corruption opportunities. So basically, this is really a substantial progress that Ukraine didn't see for many years before, and also the overall policy making has improved because professionals were appointed to the central bank, to the finance ministry, to Naftogaz, it's a state oil and gas monopoly, and to some other government bodies. But there definitely were areas where progress was much smaller, much slower, and in some areas there was no progress at all. And some of these areas really represent a bottleneck for Ukraine's development and further growth. We are talking about the civil service, the public administration. So the reform has started, but actually no achievements yet. We are talking about land market reform, about privatization, about judicial system, which is very important for business and investment, and also about the electoral system. So basically I would say that Ukraine is definitely moving in the right direction. The question is whether the speed is sufficient. And here the glass is half full or half empty, depending on how you look. And I think now even more important question is whether Ukraine will proceed further on the pace of reforms, because elections are approaching and definitely the will to do unpopular reforms is declining.
What are the main obstacles to reforms in Ukraine?
Oh, there are many, I would say. So this is the strong oligarchic system, the paternalism of the population, vested interest everywhere, incompetence in many areas. And I also would mention that Ukraine's reform agenda is huge, is much broader than for any countries which we usually compare Ukraine, especially for Central and Eastern European countries. This is because the starting point is much lower. If we compare Ukraine and Poland in terms of the governance indicator compiled by the World Bank, in 2013, only several years ago, Ukraine was much weaker than Poland was in early 90s. And this concerns the effectiveness of the government, this concerns the rule of law, the corruption. So basically, we should acknowledge this, that Ukraine has to build many institutions that other countries already had in place. And this creates an obstacle, and this also requires a very strong leadership, which I think the country lacks.
How can the West best help Ukraine?
I think the West should continue supporting Ukraine to promote further reforms, to defend the achievements made today, and also to defend the democratic values, and that finally to counterfight Russia's intention to get Ukraine back under Russia's influence. So, but the question is, what would be the best way to help Ukraine? And the traditional approach was to provide some financing in exchange for macroeconomic adjustments, or in exchange for necessary changes in legislation. But I think it doesn't work well. It gives only short-term solution, and it's not sustainable in the long run. I think that the West should kind of, in a coordinated action, focus on helping Ukraine to build necessary institutions, and to focus on implementation of legislation, and to focus on creating a system of checks and balances to defend these institutions so that they survive potential attempts to destroy them in the future.